Just caught me in the middle of eating some seaweed. It's quite nice actually, from Thailand. Anyway, welcome back to my fishing vlogs, my autobiography. Hope you're enjoying them so far. Last time was vlog 6. 4, 5 and 6 were sort of intermingled between 2, if that makes sense. But anyway, we'll carry on. Now, so far I've discussed everything from being a schoolboy, where I've first learned to get involved in fishing, how I developed into local fishing matches, and then eventually, as I grew older, of course, joining the Cardiff Nomads was the turning point, and we ended up then fishing a lot of open matches as a youngster. And I was in my 20s then, 25-ish, so you know I'm starting to get matured in now, and I was pretty successful. So anyway, at the end of 1970, 1980, Cardiff Nomad team were on their way to becoming one of the, as I said, one of the best match angling groups in South Wales. Now, John Mayers and a chap named Dick North, both from Newport. Well, in fact, John Mayers was from Hereford, not far from Belmont, in fact, close to Belmont. Dick North was from Newport, but they were both members of Newport Angling Association, and they were head of the Welsh Federation of Anglers. And anyway, they decided to join CIPS, and they actually had the vision of perhaps Wales entering a team in the World Championships, and obviously competing at the highest level was going to be the ultimate for me and obviously a lot of the other lads. Now, as Wales were basically a small nation, we didn't have a big pool to choose from. However, Cardiff Nomads, being the dominant match fishing team, provided most of the team in those early days. Now, John and Dick, both keen, you know, sort of club anglers, they went over and visited in 1980 the World Championships, which was being held in Germany on a canal called the Mannheim Canal, West Germany. And talking to them afterwards, they had witnessed something completely different to our type of match fishing, in the fact that it was different in the way that it was only 3 hours long, 2 matches over 2 days, and most, well, all the competitors just used poles, and they were fishing in deep waters, and they were using floats that we'd never seen before. Obviously, now England had been fishing world champions, so they may have seen this before, but we hadn't, and it was completely brand new to us. Anyway, it was very interesting because that year the home team, Germany, absolutely trounced the opposition, winning both the individual and the team event. In fact, Kremkus, who actually went on to win the World Championship twice, I believe, and his compatriot, Wessel, was second. The team won by a massive 16 points, and England were actually second, which, you know, I think England, they were absent from the frame for at least 6 years up until that stage. So obviously they mastered the pole fishing, you know, deep water fishing. Now, it was interesting because this is where a new type of float was sort of seen, and it was called the German barrel float. And this German barrel float, it's a bit unique, and perhaps it was the beginning of river, canal and pole floats as we know them. However, this was a big monster thing, you know, and as I said, the year was 1980, and Germany, the Mannheim Canal. Now, it was 18 foot deep, but it was full of big bream, and the venue was very difficult for most teams to come to terms with. But come the day, Germany swept all before them, and with a record, as I said, section wins. I think they had only 7 penalty points out of a possible 5, so they only dropped two points on the first day, you know, which is amazing. Anyway, using this special float in fast running water, as I said, catching these huge bags of bream, and right, it was interesting because I've actually written about it and put it on my gold medal floats website. If you haven't been there yet, it's www.goldmedalfloats.co.uk, and it describes the float in more detail. But I'll talk on about it because what they actually done with this float, it was interesting because in CIP's rules it says that you're not allowed to hold bottom like a ledger, and you're supposed to allow it to run through with a natural pace. But I think as years developed, I think CIP's turned a little bit of a blind eye, and they allowed little things, you know, like holding back and maybe over depth and that, which you're not allowed to. But as long as you weren't ledgering, I think that was the thing. Anyway, what the Germans done, as I said, was quite interesting, because what they done, they actually overshotted this float and over depth, and they actually held the float above the water. I know it's strange, but obviously they were looking for this, you know, movement of this barrel, you know, every time we had a bite. Now, the bream responded very well to, as I said, to still bait, and of course with this water running through very, very fast, Wolfgang Kremkes, he amassed over 35 pounds in just 3 hours, which is, you know, quite good going. And he won it individually. And as you can imagine, the talk about these magical floats and how they overcome the condition on the day was all the talk. All the anglers, including England, you know, were amazed, and it was not long before they made an introduction into the British market. Since that amazing day, you know, running water pole floats have developed considerably, and they've come a long way from the barrel floats. Yet I'm sure one day they'll probably make a comeback. And if you want to go and have a look at the diagram, as I said, on my website, you can see exactly how it's used. In fact, I might put a diagram on the end of this little vlog anyway. Now, how it works is basically the depth must be plumbed just over full depth, of course, so that's more than 18 foot deep. You know, I would imagine they're probably fishing, say, 20 foot deep. It's held against the flow. Now, there's 2 ways of fishing it, actually. You can, as I said, raise it above the water level, so there's no float restraining, if you like, the water current. So all you've got is the line going into the swim onto the bottom, and you're watching that barrel move or shudder or even, you know, pull away, and obviously that indicates a bite. The other way, of course, is to actually allow the water to run over the shoulder of the float, and again watching that very fine bristle, waiting for it to pop away. Now, the float itself is quite, as I said, different. It was it had an eye right in the halfway down the barrel. And now this obviously allowed you to hold it back. The Italians, you know, they've used this float to great effect, you know, when they're fishing fast water, which I noticed, you know, in future years. Again, the float, when you fish it above the water, of course, as I said, the float's got no resistance, and basically it's you can basically just run the bait, and you know, as fast or as slow as you want to along the bottom. I know that this is a method that we learned a little bit when we fished the River Drava in years to come, but I'll more about that one a little bit later. But as I say, this would work great on places like, say, the Wye, and you know, when it's up and in flood, you can just trip the bottom, you know. And of course, I've actually used it myself in a raging flood. Yeah, so that was a real eye opener in them days, and as I said, it gave John Mayers and Dick O'North, uh, great experience, and obviously, they come back, spoke to the Welsh Federation, and said, right, let's have a go, perhaps next year, 1981, which coincidentally was on home water. When I say home, it was in England, on the Warwickshire Avon at Luddington, and what an experience that turned out to be. Anyway, more about that on the next vlog.